here's my 2 cents on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has, of course, been going down, found support here at $60,000, that we know. Now, what is happening right now for Bitcoin? If I zoom in a bit, we can see that obviously we found support here at the $63,800 region, and we're going back up, retesting this level of previous support and resistance, which lies here all the way to like $67,700. And we have essentially reached that level now. The question is, are we going to go higher, or what's the zit, and are we going down right now? Well, personally, because also I'm taking short positions from here and based on the liquidations, I think we are going to go a bit higher. But let's look at the numbers and factually make a decision based on that. So right now, if I zoom in a bit, I have drawn this symmetrical triangle. Yes, we've been trading in this kind of triangle. We broke down here a bit to the downside. I could redraw it a bit differently, but for the sake of this, let's keep it in this way. And personally, I'm hoping that obviously we go up, because my short position was not filled yet. I mentioned my first short position will be at 67.5, second one 67.8, and then another one at like 68.5 or something like that, basically towards the top here. And these are all based on liquidation levels. Now, if I zoom in a bit, and if we manage to close this 4-hourly candle above, we are still within this symmetrical triangle. And the breakout will most likely be towards the end of the triangle. So if I go on the hourly here and measure how many hours from now it is until the end, it is basically 17, 18 hours. So within like today or early tomorrow, we should find a breakout here for Bitcoin. And I expect us to potentially go higher. If we go down, of course, we can retest this level here at 63.8. But if we go higher, I think we can reach the liquidity level. And let's look at the liquidation levels. Well, if you look at the 48-hour level, actually, we can see that a lot of the liquidity lays below us. And this is obviously a target for Bitcoin. And we can see here $46 million of liquidity at like $65,200, and then $32 million at $64,800. Okay, that suggests we might go a bit to the downside to grab that liquidity. But of course, we are on 48 hours. Let me zoom out a bit and go to the 2-weekly. This gives us more of a holistic view of what could be happening. And here we can see on the 2-weekly that we have actually most of the liquidity above us. And this is still the same level that I'm targeting, 67.5 to 67.8 in this region. And that's where I'm going to be entering my short positions from, right? And I think we can go there. Yes, sure, we can go a bit lower to grab that liquidity down here. But eventually, I think we're going to go higher from the current price. Also, if I look here at Bitcoin and the funding rates, of course, are telling me whether or not most people are longing or shorting the market, we can see that obviously on the daily we had a small negative funding rates, which means most people are shorting, and that's usually a signal that we go higher. And we can see that right here, when people started shorting, we went higher. But let me zoom in a bit on like the 12-hourly, and we can also see, yes, we had some shorting going on right here, which pushed the price a bit higher. But right now people are starting to long again, and of course they long and the price goes down. We know that there's somewhat of an inverse relationship here. And here also on the 6-hourly, we can see that people are starting to long the market. And this makes me think that we might go a bit down to grab those new liquidations that are being formed. And when I'm talking about new liquidations, I can show this to you guys also on the 24-hourly here, that we have liquidations above us and below us. And actually we have quite 24 hours. Let's go back to the 48 hours. This is what I was talking about. We have this liquidity here below us of people who are now entering new long positions. And I wouldn't be surprised if we go a bit low and then go higher to grab, of course, that liquidity, which is here on the 2-weekly chart, still at like $76.8 thousand. Of course, here at the top side level of this here. What we saw, where actually we found resistance, if I draw the line, let me draw the horizontal line here, exactly at the previous top. So we hit it. So I hope we're going to go a bit higher so I can get filled into these short positions. If not, that's also fine, of course. But what I can see right now is people are starting to long the market again. And that usually is a signal that we go a bit further to the downside. Now I want to discuss, we have a potential peace deal between Iran and the US, right? We have a potential peace deal that's going to be signed on Friday. And oil prices have had 7% down on the day, back towards the levels that we are used for them to be, which is usually around $60 to $70 per barrel, and going back down. And this is of course a bullish thing for the markets, but we have to wait for the FOMC meeting in 2 days and see what will happen to interest rates. There's a 99% chance interest rates will remain the same and they will not be reduced. And if Kevin Walsh says that interest rates will actually not be reduced for the remaining of this year, I expect us to have a correction to the downside, because that's of course bearish news. Now, what I want to show you also is that Elon Musk is now worth more than Bitcoin. That's crazy. He's worth 1.4 trillion, while Bitcoin is worth like $1.32 trillion. And that makes Bitcoin actually, here we go. So this is all the assets in the world. Real estate, obviously, number one, $446 trillion. This is not just companies, it's everything. It's also currencies. And we can see Bitcoin is here on 33rd position at 1.32 trillion, while SpaceX, which just launched a few days ago, is already here on 18th position at 2.84 trillion. Look at this. SpaceX just launched a few days ago. It is already worth more than Bitcoin. Elon Musk is also just him. One person is worth more than Bitcoin overall. And that's just telling us how early we are. Look at this. SpaceX now the 4th largest company in the world. It just surpassed Microsoft, obviously Nvidia being number one, but SpaceX almost at $3 trillion in valuation. And that just goes to show, I want to show how early we are for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin can go a lot higher, and a lot more adoption has to come for Bitcoin. So you are still early, and don't worry, the train has not departed yet. With that being said, let's see what happens over the next couple of hours. I want to be hopefully seeing that we break here to the upside, and I expect us to eventually break to the downside potentially when SpaceX, I think it's very overinflated. Once the hype kind of calms down a bit, can also go towards the downside. But like I said, I'm going to be shorting the market. And if we go towards higher levels, towards these levels here, like the $70,000 region, then so be it. I'm just going to add to my short positions. I don't think we're going to go too much higher, because as we know, in a bear market, Bitcoin usually goes down for 12 months from the top to the bottom, 12 months. And based on the cycles, based on what I can see, usually we have these moves to the downside, and Bitcoin usually finds its bottom in 12 months. So in October in this year, it should find its bottom. And based on that, I also expect us to go further down. Interest has not yet super picked up for Bitcoin, and I expect us to go a bit further towards the downside. With that being said, let's see what happens. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.